was
Yes.
27 years old with high blood pressure, sleep apnea, and then come to find out just before the surgery, type 2 diabetes. I was facing down the barrel.
Millions of viewers remember the moment a young pizza delivery driver stepped onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2016, sang Frank Sinatra's My Way, and earned Heidi Klum's golden buzzer in less than 2 minutes. For a while, it seemed as though Sal Valentinetti was everywhere. Then, almost as quickly, he vanished. So, did his career quietly collapse after the cameras stopped rolling? Did he become another reality TV star whose fame lasted only a season? Or is the real story far more surprising? Today, we'll uncover what really happened to Sal Valentinetti from America's Got Talent. But we'll start from the very beginning, the accident that changed everything. For most successful singers, the story begins with childhood talent shows, church choirs, or years of vocal training. Sal Valentinetti's journey followed none of those familiar paths. Music was certainly part of his life growing up in Bethpage, New York, but singing itself was never the destination. He admired the legendary voices his grandmother loved, but there was no carefully mapped-out plan to become a professional vocalist. In fact, Sal has said that throughout much of his childhood, he never seriously considered singing as a career. The turning point arrived during his teenage years while he was taking music lessons. Rather than studying voice, Sal was focused on learning a brass instrument. During one lesson, he asked his instructor if he could sing Bobby Darin's Mac the Knife, the 1959 hit that helped cement Darin's reputation as one of America's premier entertainers. It was hardly a life-changing decision in the moment. To Sal, it was simply a request to try something different. But as soon as he finished singing, the atmosphere changed. His instructor immediately recognized something that Sal himself had never fully appreciated: an unusually rich, naturally expressive voice that seemed perfectly suited to the classic standards he had grown up hearing. The timing of that discovery proved significant. By then, the American music industry had largely shifted toward pop, hip-hop, country, and electronic music. Traditional vocalists performing songs made famous by Frank Sinatra or Bobby Darin were becoming increasingly rare, particularly among teenagers. Rather than chasing current radio trends, Sal's newly discovered voice fit comfortably into a genre many considered commercially outdated. Yet that very uniqueness would eventually become his greatest advantage. Instead of competing with thousands of aspiring pop singers, he occupied a lane with very few young performers willing or able to embrace it. Realizing someone has talent, however, is very different from convincing them to pursue it professionally. According to Sal's own recollections, one family member became especially important during this stage: his Uncle Joe. Across multiple interviews over the years, Uncle Joe appears as both a motivator and an instigator, repeatedly encouraging Sal to stop treating singing as a hobby and start taking it seriously. One of the stories Sal has shared involves Uncle Joe promising him the use of his Range Rover if he auditioned for American Idol. Uncle Joe consistently pushed Sal toward opportunities he may not have pursued on his own. That encouragement eventually led Sal to audition for American Idol during its 14th season in 2015. At the time, American Idol remained one of the most influential singing competitions in television history, having already launched the careers of artists including Kelly Clarkson, Carrie Underwood, Jennifer Hudson, and Jordine Sparks. Simply earning an audition represented an opportunity many aspiring singers never received. Sal successfully advanced through the initial rounds but failed to reach the live televised competition. For many contestants, that would have marked the end of the road. Instead, it became an education in how unforgiving the entertainment industry could be. Rather than abandoning music, Sal left the competition with greater determination and valuable experience performing under pressure. Around this period, his mother, according to some, dismissed the idea of singing lessons, believing they were little more than a scheme to extract money from families. She doubted whether her son possessed any real vocal ability at all. However, after achieving national recognition, Sal gave interviews in which he described his mother in glowing terms, referring to her as his biggest supporter. Rather than portraying her as someone who discouraged his ambitions, he explained that she served as a coach who challenged him to improve rather than simply praising every performance. He contrasted a coach with a cheerleader, suggesting that honest criticism ultimately helped him develop as an artist. During his America's Got Talent audition in 2016, watched by millions of viewers, Sal also told the judges that his mother was everything to him. That doesn't necessarily mean both versions cannot contain elements of truth. It is entirely possible that his mother initially questioned whether professional singing lessons were worthwhile before later becoming one of his strongest supporters as his talent became undeniable. Families often evolve alongside a young person's ambitions, particularly when those ambitions involve careers with uncertain prospects. The problem arises when we compress years of family dynamics into a simple tale of doubt followed by triumph. Real life is usually more complicated than that, and Sal's own words suggest a relationship built on guidance, discipline, and support. But the road to stardom was not going to be easy. The boy nobody expected to become a crooner. Long before millions of television viewers knew him as the sharply dressed singer who brought old-school crooning back to primetime, Sal Valentinetti was just another teenager growing up in Bethpage, a suburban hamlet on Long Island, New York. Nothing about his early life suggested he was destined for a national spotlight. Bethpage was better known for its parks, schools, and family neighborhoods than for producing entertainment stars. While aspiring singers across America were chasing pop music, social media fame, and recording contracts, Sal's world revolved around family dinners, local community life, and a soundtrack that seemed frozen in another era. It was an unlikely setting for someone who would eventually captivate millions by singing songs that had peaked decades before he was even born. That unusual musical foundation came from one person more than anyone else: his grandmother. She introduced him to the voices that would shape his identity as a performer. While many children of his time grew up listening to contemporary artists, Sal spent his childhood immersed in the recordings of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Tony Bennett, and Bobby Darin. They became a shared language between the grandson and grandmother. This was a foundation for something great. Through his grandmother, Sal also discovered the Great American Songbook, a collection of timeless standards written primarily between the 1920s and the 1950s that has defined generations of jazz and traditional pop performers. Years later, when audiences marveled that someone born in the mid-1990s sang with such affection for music nearly half a century older than him, the explanation traced back to those early afternoons spent with his grandmother. What makes that relationship even more significant is that Sal has said his grandmother's influence did not end with her life. After she passed away, he continued singing partly because it helped him preserve the connection they had shared. In interviews, he has described music as a way of keeping her memory alive, transforming performances into something more personal than entertainment. Every Sinatra ballad or Bobby Darin classic became more than a nostalgic tribute to a bygone musical era. It also served as a quiet tribute to the woman who first placed those records in front of him. That emotional connection would later become one of the defining characteristics of his performances. But then, his life changed forever. Pizza deliveries by day, dreams by night. By the time Sal Valentinetti reached his late teens, his life looked nothing like the glamorous image people often associate with future television stars. While many aspiring musicians were relocating to Los Angeles or Nashville, chasing record labels and industry connections, Sal was driving around Long Island delivering pizzas. It was an ordinary job with ordinary routines, taking orders, navigating neighborhood streets, and arriving at customers' doors with hot boxes in hand. Yet that period would become one of the most important chapters of his story, because it grounded him long before national fame arrived. Instead of viewing the work as something to hide, Sal later spoke about it with surprising pride. Unlike many contestants on televised talent competitions who described their previous jobs as unbearable stepping stones, Sal genuinely seemed to enjoy being a pizza delivery driver. According to interviews, he began delivering pizzas at around 17 years old, driving his Cadillac through Long Island neighborhoods while balancing work with an emerging interest in singing. Even after becoming nationally known, Sal never treated those years as an embarrassing secret. If anything, he embraced them, often joking about his pizza delivery days during interviews and television appearances. That willingness to own his background made him unusually relatable in an industry where many performers try to distance themselves from humble beginnings. But while pizzas paid the bills, music was quietly becoming impossible to ignore. Encouraged by family members, particularly his Uncle Joe, and buoyed by the confidence he had gained after discovering his voice during a music lesson, Sal began accepting opportunities to perform locally. One of the earliest came when relatives helped arrange singing engagements at restaurants, allowing him to test his voice before live audiences. These were not sold-out concert halls or television studios. They were intimate venues where every performance depended on winning over diners sitting only a few feet away. There was no elaborate stage production to hide behind, no backing dancers, and no television editing. If the audience enjoyed the music, they applauded. If they didn't, the room quickly let the performer know. Those early gigs became an invaluable training ground. By 2015, Sal had reached a crossroads. The local performances were encouraging, but building a national career from restaurant gigs alone was almost impossible. After failing to qualify for the live televised rounds of Season 14 of American Idol, he refused to disappear. Sal found himself back on Long Island without the national breakthrough he had hoped for. The dream had not collapsed entirely, but it had certainly stalled. For many aspiring performers, reaching that point is where reality wins. Bills need paying, confidence fades, and careers quietly drift in different directions. Instead, the setback seemed to sharpen Sal's resolve. Rather than treating American Idol as proof that he wasn't good enough, he treated it as proof that he belonged in the conversation. He had advanced further than thousands of applicants who never made it past the first audition room. More importantly, he had gained first-hand experience performing before television producers, celebrity judges, and high-pressure cameras. Those lessons could not be learned from singing in restaurants alone. As Sal returned to delivering pizzas and performing local gigs, another reality was becoming increasingly clear. His greatest strength wasn't versatility, it was authenticity. While many singers entering talent competitions constantly reinvented themselves to fit current trends, Sal remained committed to the Great American Songbook. His deep, smooth vocals and effortless stage presence stood apart precisely because they refused to imitate contemporary pop stars. That realization would soon become his competitive advantage. By 2016, another opportunity appeared on the horizon, one song that changed his entire life. America's Got Talent differed from American Idol in one crucial respect. It wasn't searching exclusively for recording artists. It celebrated originality, personality, and performers capable of creating unforgettable moments regardless of genre. Previous winners had included magicians, ventriloquists, dance groups, comedians, and singers with wildly different styles. Suddenly, there seemed to be room for someone who looked like he had stepped out of a Las Vegas showroom from the 1960s. Sal could either continue delivering pizzas and wondering what might have been, or he could gamble everything on one more audition. He chose the latter. When Sal walked onto the stage of America's Got Talent in 2016, he didn't look like someone trying to fit the mold of a modern singing competition. Season 11 had already featured powerhouse vocalists, dancers, magicians, comedians, and novelty acts, each hoping to stand out in a competition watched by millions of Americans every week. Most singers choose current chart hits to demonstrate their range and commercial appeal. Sal did the exact opposite. Dressed in a sharp suit and carrying himself with the confidence of an old-school entertainer, the 20-year-old from Bethpage, New York, introduced himself as a pizza delivery driver with a love for classical music. It was an unusual combination that immediately caught the judges' attention, but no one yet knew they were about to witness one of the defining auditions of the season. For his audition, Sal chose My Way, the signature anthem made world-famous by Frank Sinatra after its 1969 release. It was a bold gamble. My Way isn't simply another classic song. It is one of the most recognizable standards in popular music history and has been covered by hundreds of artists over the decades. Choosing it on national television invited inevitable comparisons with Sinatra himself. For a young singer barely in his 20s, it could easily have come across as overambitious. Instead, within moments of beginning the performance, Sal demonstrated that he wasn't trying to imitate Sinatra note for note. He embraced the song with enough confidence and personality to make it feel authentic, earning enthusiastic reactions from both the audience and the judging panel. The performance reached its emotional peak when Judge Heidi Klum made a split-second decision that would permanently change Sal's career. Without waiting for the judge's deliberation, she slammed the golden buzzer, sending a shower of golden confetti across the stage. Introduced in Season 9, the golden buzzer allows each judge to send one act directly to the live shows, bypassing the judges' cuts round entirely. Receiving one instantly separates a contestant from thousands of other hopefuls. Sal's stunned reaction became one of the most replayed moments of the season, while Heidi celebrated her choice by joining him on stage. Overnight, the pizza delivery driver from Long Island transformed into one of the breakout stars of America's Got Talent Season 11. The impact extended far beyond the television broadcast. His audition quickly spread across social media and YouTube, where it accumulated millions of views, introducing him to audiences who had never watched the show. Suddenly, Sal had become a recognizable face nationwide. Interviews followed, media outlets profiled his unlikely rise, and viewers were captivated by the contrast between his age and his musical taste. In an era dominated by pop, hip-hop, and electronic dance music, here was a performer barely out of his teens, proudly reviving traditional pop standards from the mid-20th century. Rather than chasing contemporary trends, he doubled down on the style that had defined him since childhood, proving there was still a sizable audience for timeless music. The real challenge, however, came after the confetti settled. Many Golden Buzzer recipients struggle to maintain momentum once the live shows begin, as viewers expect each new performance to surpass the last. Sal understood that changing his identity simply to surprise audiences would be a mistake. Instead, he leaned even further into the music that had brought him there. During the quarterfinals, he delivered an unexpected jazz-inspired interpretation of One Direction's 2013 hit Story of My Life. Transforming a modern pop song into a swinging big band performance could easily have failed, but it accomplished the opposite. The arrangement allowed Sal to demonstrate that he could reinterpret contemporary music without abandoning his vintage style. The performance earned a standing ovation from judges Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, and Mel B. His semifinal appearance shifted back toward the classics that had shaped his musical identity. Sal performed Frank Sinatra's That's Life, a song released in 1966 that perfectly matched his charismatic stage presence. Once again, he received an enthusiastic response from both the audience and the judges, who praised his confidence and ability to command the stage. As the competition intensified, he followed with Bobby Darin's Mac the Knife, the very song that had played such an important role in discovering his voice years earlier during a teenage music lesson. The performance carried an almost symbolic significance. What had begun as an informal request to sing during a lesson had now become one of the standout moments of a nationally televised competition watched by millions. By the time the finale arrived in September 2016, Sal had accomplished something few expected at the beginning of the season. A singer devoted almost entirely to the great American songbook had survived weeks of public voting against contemporary vocalists, variety acts, comedians, and magicians. For his final performance, he shared the stage with the cast of Jersey Boys, performing the 1975 hit December 1963. The collaboration celebrated another chapter of classical American popular music while allowing Sal to perform alongside seasoned professionals. When the votes were finally counted, Sal finished in 5th place. He did not win season 11. That honor went to singer and ukulele player Grace VanderWaal, but final placement tells only part of the story. Many winners of television talent competitions gradually fade from public attention, while certain finalists become enduring fan favorites. Sal emerged as one of the season's most memorable contestants. Away from the cameras, another transformation was unfolding. The career that didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. For many contestants, America's Got Talent is both the peak of their fame and the beginning of their disappearance. Every season introduces dozens of memorable performers, but only a small percentage manage to build careers that survive long after the cameras stop rolling. Once the finale ends, television exposure fades. Social media attention shifts to the next cast, and public interest quickly moves on. Sal Valentinetti faced exactly that reality after finishing 5th in season 11 in September 2016. He hadn't won the $1 million prize, nor had he secured a long-running Las Vegas residency through the show. Yet instead of quietly fading into obscurity, he chose a slower, less glamorous path, one built on constant touring, live performances, and steadily expanding his audience city by city. Almost immediately after America's Got Talent, Sal began converting television recognition into concert bookings. Rather than relying on viral fame, he returned to what had first built his confidence years earlier: performing live. The difference now was scale. Instead of restaurants and local venues around Long Island, he was traveling across the United States, appearing at theaters, performing arts centers, casinos, festivals, and private events. His audience largely consisted of people who appreciated the great American songbook, a demographic often overlooked by mainstream record labels but remarkably loyal to live performers. While many former reality show contestants focused on chasing chart success, Sal leaned into becoming a touring entertainer. One of the clearest signs that his career had genuine momentum came through the venues he began performing at. Among the most notable was New York City's iconic Madison Square Garden. For generations of musicians, comedians, and athletes, Madison Square Garden has represented one of the most prestigious stages in American entertainment. Although artists appear there in different formats and event configurations, simply performing inside the arena remains a significant career milestone. For a young singer who had been delivering pizzas only a short time earlier, standing on that legendary stage symbolized just how dramatically his life had changed since his Golden Buzzer audition. His growing popularity became even more evident closer to home. Sal achieved sellout performances at several respected New York area venues, including the NYCB Theater at Westbury on Long Island, a venue with its own rich entertainment history. Originally opened in 1956 as the Westbury Music Fair, the theater has welcomed legendary performers, including Frank Sinatra, Tony Bennett, Johnny Cash, and countless other major entertainers. Performing there carried particular symbolism for Sal because he had built his career around preserving the same musical tradition those artists represented. He also sold out multiple consecutive nights at the Paramount in Huntington, New York. Fans were now purchasing tickets specifically to hear Sal perform. His growing reputation also opened doors beyond solo concerts. In 2017, Sal landed an opportunity to open for comedian Jay Leno at the Terry Fator Theater inside the Mirage Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. For decades, Las Vegas has remained one of the world's entertainment capitals, hosting everyone from Frank Sinatra's Rat Pack to modern headliners. Sharing a venue associated with Terry Fator, himself an America's Got Talent winner, and opening for a nationally recognized figure like Jay Leno represented another important milestone. Music releases soon followed. In 2017, Sal issued his debut EP, The Voice, a collection that reflected the musical identity he had established on television. Rather than reinventing himself to chase pop radio, the project featured interpretations of timeless standards such as The Way You Look Tonight and You Make Me Feel So Young. 2 years later, Sal expanded his catalog with Christmas Present, released in 2019. Holiday albums have long been an important tradition among jazz and traditional pop vocalists, dating back to artists like Frank Sinatra, Bing Crosby, and Tony Bennett. Sal's album continued that legacy while also including original material such as When Christmas Comes to Town. The same year brought another unexpected chapter when Sal returned to television for America's Got Talent, The Champions. Premiering in 2019, the spin-off assembled standout contestants and winners from previous seasons of the franchise, as well as international editions. Competition was significantly tougher than a standard season because nearly every participant had already proven themselves on a major stage. Sal once again represented the classic vocal tradition that had made him memorable in 2016. However, this time he was eliminated during the preliminary rounds. On paper, it looked like a disappointing result. In reality, it had surprisingly little impact on the trajectory of his career because, by then, television exposure was no longer the foundation of his success. But then, he disappeared for a while. The reason will shock you. Health scares, love, and the myths of internet fame. Just as Sal's post-America's Got Talent career was gaining steady momentum, an unexpected health scare brought everything to a sudden halt. In late 2019, while traveling through South Florida, Sal collapsed after fainting, forcing those around him to call emergency services. The Tequesta Fire Rescue Department responded to the incident and transported him to Jupiter Medical Center in Jupiter, Florida, where doctors evaluated his condition. The cause was eventually traced to pneumonia, an infection that inflames the air sacs in the lungs and can severely affect breathing, stamina, and energy levels. For most people, pneumonia is a serious illness. For a professional singer whose livelihood depends almost entirely on lung capacity, breath control, and vocal endurance, it carried serious concern. Fans who learned of the hospitalization immediately wondered whether the illness could threaten the very voice that had made him famous. Fortunately, the prognosis turned out to be far more encouraging than many had feared. Sal later reassured supporters that he was receiving proper medical care and thanked fans for their concern as he focused on recovering. After treatment and rest, he gradually resumed his schedule and returned to performing, with no indication of any lasting damage to his voice. Around the same period, he also underwent the removal of all 4 wisdom teeth. Despite those setbacks arriving within a relatively short period, neither kept him away from music for long, and he soon returned to the stage. The episode also highlighted something that had already become a recurring theme in Sal's life: taking his health seriously before small problems became larger ones. During his America's Got Talent journey in 2016, he revealed that doctors had warned him he was pre-diabetic. Rather than ignoring the diagnosis, he made significant lifestyle changes, improving his diet and daily habits, and ultimately losing approximately 50 pounds during the competition. He later explained that the transformation wasn't driven by appearance or television pressure, but by a determination to protect his long-term health. Instead of allowing health setbacks to derail his career, Sal responded by addressing them directly, recovering and returning to the stage, where live performance has remained the foundation of his career ever since. Health, however, was only one part of Sal's evolving personal story. While Sal's professional career continued gathering momentum, another important chapter unfolded almost entirely away from the spotlight. In December 2021, he announced his engagement to his longtime girlfriend, Gianna Oliva, sharing the happy news with fans after several years together. The announcement was met with an outpouring of congratulations from supporters who had followed his journey ever since his unforgettable America's Got Talent audition in 2016. Unlike many entertainers who transform every milestone of their personal lives into social media content, Sal has taken a noticeably more restrained approach. Gianna has appeared occasionally in photographs and posts shared by Sal, but the couple has largely chosen to keep the details of their relationship private rather than turning it into a public storyline. That privacy has naturally fueled curiosity. Fans frequently ask how the couple met, when they first began dating, where they live, or whether wedding plans have already taken place. Yet, surprisingly little of that information has ever been confirmed publicly. Sal has never offered a detailed account of how their relationship began, and neither has spoken extensively to the media about their life together. Their decision to keep those details out of the public eye stands in sharp contrast to today's celebrity culture, where relationships are often documented almost daily across multiple social media platforms, but it's also perfectly within their domain to do so. Earlier in 2021, Sal continued expanding his recorded work with Little Valentine, an album created in collaboration with the No Vacancy Orchestra. Featuring 13 songs centered around romance and classic standards, the project reinforced his commitment to orchestral arrangements and timeless melodies instead of contemporary production trends. Ironically, the reality of Sal's career may be more interesting than the exaggerated myths surrounding it. Rather than becoming an overnight millionaire through a single television appearance, he built his livelihood gradually. Concert by concert, album by album, he established himself as a dependable live performer with a loyal audience. That's a far less sensational story than miraculous overnight riches, but it also happens to be the one supported by observable facts. Fans can see the tours, the sold-out performances, the music releases, the continuing schedule of appearances. So, what really happened to Sal Valentinetti? Well, he did not disappear after America's Got Talent, despite what occasional internet searches might suggest. At the same time, he didn't become an instant global superstar dominating the pop charts. Instead, he quietly achieved something many performers spend entire careers pursuing: stability. He built a respected career singing the music he genuinely loves, continued touring, released multiple recording projects, overcame health challenges, and remained connected to the audience that first embraced him in 2016. Perhaps the greatest mystery surrounding Sal today isn't where he went at all. It's why so many exaggerated stories have grown around a journey that never needed embellishment. The verified facts are compelling enough. A pizza delivery driver from Bethpage inspired by his grandmother, a voice discovered almost by accident during a music lesson, a life transformed by one unforgettable performance of My Way, and a modern-day crooner who is still earning a living from timeless music years after the golden buzzer changed everything. That's an impressive success story by every measure. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.